Welcome back to the Halloween Tea Party, guys, where I'm attempting to do 31 tutorials for the 31 days of October. Today's look is from The Lazarus Effect, which is a great scary film to watch if you are looking for something creepy to watch this Halloween. I'm starting out with a colour corrector to correct my under eye bags, and I'm using an orange and just applying it with my finger and blending it out slightly. Then I'm going in with my foundation, and I've almost run out of it and they've stopped doing this shade and I just don't know what I'm going to do. Olivia Wilde has just absolutely flawless looking skin, so I'm trying to achieve that, and a light coverage foundation probably isn't the best way to go. So, do your foundation however you do it to appear flawless. Then I'm taking a concealer and going over my under eye bags to give them a little bit of extra help. And I'm applying that with my fingers and then blending it out into the foundation so that it looks seamless. And then I'm powdering everything so that it's really nice and matte. For the lips, I'm using a nude liquid to matte lipstick, because her lips in the pictures that I'm looking at for reference are just skin coloured basically. Sadly, this lipstick was a bit sheer, so it didn't really do what I wanted it to do, so I went in with some powder on top of it to just try and get rid of any pigment from my lip showing through. For my eyes, I'm starting out with a nude eyeshadow base. She doesn't really have a lot going on, kind of makeup wise. Everything is very much one shade, so I'm just using it to basically correct the color around my eyes, to just make it all one shade and to match the rest of my face. Then I'm setting that with a skin colored eyeshadow. I'm using a fluffy brush to apply the eyeshadow because I find it just gives you a much more even light coverage for looks like this, where you're just literally trying to make the skin around your eyes look the same color as the skin on your face. For the burns, I'm starting out with a wedge sponge that I've picked apart, and I'm using a pink face paint and a yellow face paint mixed together. I'm just dabbing those colors on in the areas where the burns are going to be using the sponge. If you have a stipple sponge or a textured sponge or anything like that, that would work just as well as using a wedge. But basically you just take a wedge and you just pick apart the end of it so it looks a bit like holy and rough, and it's going to give you this really nice texture when you apply the paint. I'm using quite a lot of water with the paints because I don't want this to be super opaque. This is going to show through the gelatin a little bit and just make it look like the skin is a bit irritated and discolored, but a lot of it is going to be covered up. Then I heated up some gelatin and gave it a really good stir, and I'm kind of waiting for it to get to the right consistency. So while I'm waiting for it to cool down a bit, I'm going in with some red face paint on that same stipple sponge and using a lot of water and going over all of the areas of the burns that I've put down. Once that's down, the gelatin has cooled to a nice temperature where it's safe to use on my skin. Always test it on your hand or something before you start slapping it all over your face, because you don't want to get burns for real. To apply it, I'm using that same wedge sponge and just patting it all over the areas where the burns are. And I'm working quite quickly because I don't want my gelatin to cool any more than it already has. But I find that using a wedge sponge, it's going to give you that burn texture without needing too much effort. But one thing you want to keep in mind is to not apply it too thickly, because you don't want the edges to be super obvious, and if you just apply a thin coat of it, you'll get that nice burnt texture without it looking kind of fake and put on top of the skin. If you are having problems with edges where you find that the edge of your burn is just really, really obvious, then you can go in with a bit of witch hazel or some warm water and just go over the edges just to thin them down a little bit. Once all my gelatin's on, it does cool quite quickly on the skin, but I'm just leaving it for a few minutes to cool down some more. I'm taking an old cheap brush that I don't care about because it might get sticky if there's any bits of gelatin that haven't dried. and I'm powdering everything with face powder. I'm using quite a lot because I'm going to go in with some other brushes that I do like and I don't want those to get ruined and gunked up with gelatin. Then I'm taking a dark red face paint and a small brush. I think this is a lip brush, and I'm applying the red and I'm just going in all the indentations in the gelatin to make them look really red and irritated. And again, I'm using quite a lot of water with the paint because I don't want this to be completely opaque. If there's any patches where you apply it and it's a bit too thick, then you can tap it out with your finger and that's going to just disperse the color a bit and make it look a little bit more realistic. To add some irritation around those burns, I'm taking a red eyeshadow and a fluffy-ish brush. It's an eyeshadow contour brush, so it's a bit stiff but a bit fluffy as well. So I'm just adding a little bit of that red eyeshadow around the burn area and blending it out slightly to make it look a bit more irritated. Because, you know, you wouldn't have like a burn and then just skin. You would have some swelling or irritation around the burn going into the skin. Then I'm taking a black eyeshadow, and this is to add the kind of charred effect onto the skin. Or, well, the burns, not the skin. I'm switching between two brushes to do this, so I'm using a smaller fluffy brush so that I can really get into areas where I want it to be quite dark. I can kind of target the points in the gelatin where I want that charred effect to be. And I'm using a big fluffy powder brush to just apply it all over the burn area. Finally, I'm taking a detail brush and that same black eyeshadow, and I'm getting the brush slightly damp and then just drawing wiggly lines coming off all of the burns, coming off around the eyes. There should be a name for these, like demon veins or something, because you know traditionally when you see demon recreation makeups, they have these lines coming off the eyes, so demon veins. We're doing some demon veins. I kept them fairly light because usually you would have like a dark eye makeup and they come off of that dark eye makeup so it blends. There's no dark eye makeup in this look, so they're not super intense. And you know, from the reference picture you can see they're not like these super dark black demon veins. That's it guys, you are now an Olivia Wilde demon. There'll be another tutorial going up tomorrow, so if you want to be notified when that's live, you can hit the subscribe button. If you like this video and this look, you can let me know by hitting the like button. And if you have any comments, questions, anything like that, let me know in the comments below. If you decide to recreate this look, I would love to see how it comes out. You can post it to social media. Tag me in the post and use the hashtag Halloween Tea Party so that I can see it. And I'm also having a little competition over on my Instagram. So if you want to be in with a chance of winning some goodies, then head over there and you can get all the details. I'll leave some links in the description box below along with all of the products I've used today. If this isn't quite what you were looking for, then here are some alternative looks that might be a bit more your thing. I hope you all have an amazing Halloween, guys, and I will see you in tomorrow's video. I'm sorry about my voice as well. I'm a little bit sick today, but I really didn't want to miss the day on this little adventure.